Hey y'all. Okay, let's just get into it, right? So in my last video, it was pretty heavy, right? It was a heavy part of my story. I talked about how I planned my own funeral, right? Because I didn't want to be here anymore. Well, this video, I guess I'm going to be a prequel, but this video is going to talk about what kind of led up to that. And it really just deals with who people thought that I was versus what I was actually carrying. And there was a really big gap in between those. And I feel like a lot of people are quietly living in this big gap between everyone thinks that I'm this, but in reality, I'm actually this. I'm actually carrying this. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to deal with the truth. We're going to be gentle, but we're going to deal with this truth. Okay? Let's get into it. So hey, welcome to my channel. Finally me, finally Bree. Of course, I'm Bree. And if you're new, well, it's only my second video, so you're probably new here. But listen, I'm very happy you're here, okay? And I just want you to know, if you ever felt disconnected between who you are and how people actually see you, what you're portrayed as, and what you're actually carrying, you're not alone. I promise you're not the first, and unfortunately, you won't be the last. Today I'm sharing because I don't have it all figured out. I'm on this journey to, reimagine, rewrite, reclaim, romanticize my life. So we're literally figuring it out together. But I just want to share my experience, and I hope that helps you. So I just want to go over 6-ish points or things that I realized were happening in hindsight that now when I recognize them, I'm like, okay, I know what that is, or I know how to face it. I realized how much I was living based on who people thought that I was. Like, I didn't realize that I had formed this, I guess you could say, character, or was really putting on to live up to people's expectations of who they thought I was versus who I actually was in this particular season. So that meant I was always on, I was always available, I was always a problem solver, I was always saying yes. And let's just be honest, yes, that is extremely draining, but people thought that about me, so that's how I showed up. If this feels familiar, that you should be asking yourself, why am I showing up like this out of habit versus honesty? The next thing is the silence. Ooh, baby. Being quiet as a mode of protection. Jesus. I honestly thought that staying quiet was much easier than saying what was wrong. Staying quiet was much easier than explaining myself. I didn't want to get into awkward conversations where people would be like, oh, what's wrong? What are you feeling? And I'm just like, because I didn't know how to explain it. So my last video, I described how I knew that something was wrong, but I didn't know what caused it. Well, because nothing caused it, right? There was nothing bad that happened. I just woke up and I was just sad for a very long time. And so I didn't want to get into conversations with people because, number one, on the outside, everything looked fine, right? And so this was going to be a shock to a lot of people. And I'm sure watching the last video and just hearing this for the first time, for some, they're like, whoa, I didn't know. Exactly. And when you can't articulate what's wrong, you can't articulate what's going on, you can't put into words, it starts to make you think that you're a little crazy, because you're like, am I imagining this? Are things as bad as they are? Yes, my dear, they are as bad as they are. And sometimes we will avoid that conversation because we just simply can't put into words what's going on. And you have to be honest with yourself and say, that's okay. And I know it probably still sounds crazy because on the outside, everyone assumed everything was good. Marriage is good, kids are good. So why is something wrong? Why is she just randomly crying? You just burst into tears in front of people. They're like, is she crazy? No, you're not crazy. Just because you can't articulate what's wrong doesn't mean that nothing's wrong. And so if you're finding yourself in this space where you can't find the words, people come up to you and they're like, genuine concern. Hey, what's going on? What's wrong? You don't have to explain anything, but I think it's good to have some type of safe explanation or a safe sentences. You just simply say, hey, I'm not okay. I don't necessarily want to talk about it at this moment. When I am ready, I'll let you know. That's simple. Or maybe not. Let me not downplay it. It may work for you. I don't know when and where being the strong one became a compliment. Somewhere along the lines it did. Maybe like way back then. But today, sometimes we find ourselves being the strong friend, the strong one. It's not being a compliment, right? And sometimes being the strong one means there's no space for you to not be okay. There's no space for you to be tired. There's no space for you to be vulnerable and weak. But then sometimes being the strong one means being strong for everyone else and being weak for yourself. Like your strength is at the detriment of your own sanity. And then, yeah, I ain't gonna like this part. Sometimes us, we sign up to be the strong one. Who said that? Me. We sign up to be the strong one, and then we mad at everybody else for looking at us as the strong one. Baby, that's when you have to take accountability. Because you signed up for that. You, for whatever reason, have to feel validated or feel I'm talking about myself, okay? I was feeling validation and self-worth based on being the strong one for everyone else. And when I look at it, I couldn't blame anyone but myself, because a lot of times I place myself in those positions. Now, it's different if other people place you there. But when you sign up for yourself, I'm just saying. So gently, we're going back to being gentle, right? When that happens, when let's just say you did sign up to be the strong one, or someone signed you up to be the strong one, I should ask yourself, who will I disappoint if I'm not the strong one? What do I think will actually happen if I don't keep it together? This is probably one of the hardest things that I still struggle with, but sometimes you have to let everything fall apart so people can figure it out for themselves. Whew. You know you want to save everybody. You do, but you can't. You can't. Take a little sip. But you have to let things fall apart. And it's not so people will appreciate you more, but it's so they can learn how to do some things for themselves. You're valuable, but you are not always needed, my love. The next point is, I didn't need to be stronger. I just needed to be more honest with myself first. I kept saying to myself, if I could just get through this season, if I could just get through these moments, everything will be okay. But my body and my mind were saying something different. My spirit was saying something different. It was saying, this isn't just something that just happened this season. You've been dealing with this for a long time, and you have to deal with all of it, not just what's happening right in front of you. I like to think of it like this. Imagine if you had a headache, right? And you're like, if I could just push through this headache, get to the other side, I'll be okay. And then that headache turns into a pounding headache, turns to a migraine, turns into blurred vision. And you just keep saying, if I could just get through this thing, I'll be okay. But on the other side of that thing is something else for you to get to. But because you never dealt with the first headache, now you're having more issues. Does that make sense? When I was in that dark season, even though there were days when it was just really hard for me to even just get out of bed, I find myself still trying to work, still trying to activate my creativity. And when I tell you any and everything was getting on my nerves, like I couldn't be proactive. I was really just running on autopilot on the skills that I had. And instead of just taking a step back and saying, okay, you all, I can't do this. I can't work. I can't create. Telling myself that too, like, it's okay not to work. It's okay to not try to create something, and let's figure out why. I just kept going until eventually I crashed. If you're finding yourself in that space, I challenge you to not continue to push, not continue to try to get on the other side of it. Stop where you are, assess, and say, this is what I need right now. If I don't get this right now, I can't keep going. The next point is, I was waiting on permission for things to shift, to change. I was waiting on permission to rest. I was waiting on permission to take a break. I was waiting on permission to ask for help. And how do I say this? You have to realize that no one is coming to save you. People care, but no one is coming to save you. The truth is, I really did need permission to slow down. I needed permission to change my mind. I needed permission to take a break. And, you know, if you're a wife, a mom, a partner, a business owner, entrepreneur, student, whatever, the case may be. It's inevitable. There's always going to be a work assignment, a school practice, a meeting, something for you to do. And very rarely is someone going to stop and put their needs of needing you to the side to meet your needs of you needing yourself. That's when you have to give yourself permission to say, stop. I can't. I need a break. I need to reset. I need to change. No one is coming to save you. That does not mean that people don't care about you, but you have to give yourself permission to ask for help. I often think about if I went to dinner with my girls and they asked me what was wrong and I didn't give myself permission to say, hey, I really do need help. I would literally still be suffering in silence behind the walls of my own home, crying tears, dealing with silent screams. I had to give myself permission to get the help that I needed. As I got the help that I needed, give myself permission to actually heal. So maybe you start with just giving yourself permission to take a break, give yourself permission to say no, and give yourself permission to put yourself first. Let's start with that last one. Give yourself permission to put yourself first. Don't even worry about it. Everything else will come, okay? The last point is really just grounding myself and honoring my reality. I was so embarrassed about where I was and what I was going through. Okay, so let's just have an honest conversation, because we being honest and all. I'm a God girl, as I mentioned before. I am a believer. I'm supposed to be able to pray and believe that things are going to change, but I was not in that headspace. I could not, my faith wasn't there. In my opinion, I just didn't have it. I couldn't pray for myself. I couldn't even ask someone to pray for me. And so I was embarrassed that I was going through this thing again. And now it was even more intensified. The depression was even more intensified. The sadness was even larger. The attitude was even at a bigger magnitude. The isolation was larger. And that bled into everything else. I was embarrassed to tell business partners or people I was working with or people I wanted to work with, has tried to reach out to, collaborate, whatever the case may be. Like, hey, I'm going through a really dark season. I can't continue. And so then my character is on the line. My reputation is on the line. And I just couldn't properly communicate because, again, I didn't have the words to articulate what was going on. But a point came where I had to acknowledge my valley. I had to acknowledge that I was dealing with something that was much bigger than myself, that I didn't want to be here anymore. And once I started to have those hard conversations, then I gave myself the space for my reality to have the truth and carry the truth. And so that meant me saying, no, I can't do this. No, this doesn't work for me. No, I can't be available to you like I've been available to you in the past. And again, it's still something that I struggle with sometimes. It's still something I'm challenged with because I don't want to feel weak or seem weak by saying, no, I can't. I'm too tired. I can't go out, or I can't do this thing for you. But the truth of the matter is I have to make it a practice to say when no is the first thing that comes to mind, no is the answer. So I challenge you to ask yourself, okay, before you say yes to something, I want you to say, is this honoring my reality? Is this honoring the truth about where I am right now? Is this being harmful or is this being helpful? And typically the first thing that comes to mind is the real answer. And this last point is real simple. Listen, sometimes you just have to say, it is what it is. It is what it is. This is where I am right now. I won't be here forever, but right now I am in this space. I need to take care of me, and wherever the chips fall, baby, that's where they fall. And I need to be respected, right? I need to have this time, this season respected. Not just by everyone else, but I need to respect it myself. So that means I need to put some boundaries in place. I need to put some boundaries in place, and I need to hold myself to them as well. So listen, if you're living in that gap, again, baby, I get it. Okay, it is not the easiest place to live, but I hope that this type of conversation has helped you to assess and figure out some changes you need to make, right? Again, we are constantly going through this journey together to reimagine, recreate, reinvent, whatever you need to do, however you need to do it over, we're gonna do it together, all right? Okay, I'll see y'all later. I still don't know what to say, so bye.